Hansen here from Cozy Cabin CDA with more tips on lake cabin living. Today we're going to look at how to start a good fire in your fireplace. I grew up in a home with a fireplace, and my dad was always a great wizard in getting a good fire going. Unfortunately, I never had the opportunity to learn from him how to start a fire. So when I got my first home with a fireplace, it wasn't all that great. I would try to start a fire. The flame would go out and the room would fill up with smoke, and everyone in my family would either be hiding in the bedroom or opening all the windows, complaining about smoke poisoning. So I'm going to just share a couple of tips that I mostly learned the hard way, and we're going to talk about just the main components of getting a good fire going. So the theory of a good fire is very simple. It has four components, same four components that are involved in having your combustion engine run good in your car. So you need four things. You need number one, combustible material. You need number two, air. Number three, you need a spark. And number four, you need heat. So let's talk about those four things. So let's talk a little bit about combustible materials. So in a car engine, you're burning fuel. Here we're burning primarily wood, since it's obviously a wood burning fireplace. You can also obviously burn paper. So what I've done here on my table, I've organized things from most combustible to least combustible. And by combustible, I mean the ability to easily catch a flame or a fire. So most combustible would be obviously something like newspaper. I tear pages out of Yellow Pages book here, would work just fine. We've got cardboard, and we've got these fire starters. Here's the label here. You can get those at any home improvement store. They're about like $5 for a bag, and they catch fire pretty easily, so they're great for building a fire. And I've got some pieces of wood that I've cut really thin with my axe. I've got these slices here, which I slice with my axe from a Presto lock. You can also get those Presto locks at home improvement stores. They burn really well. In fact, you can use a fire with just Presto locks. They're great, give great heat, but it's not the cheapest way to run a fire, especially if you have firewood on your property. And then obviously from most to least combustible is the size of the chunks of wood that you have. So a big chunk of wood here is going to be great once we get a good fire going, but you want to wait until you have a good fire going until you want to put those in. Next thing, let's talk about airflow. So to have a good fire going, you need air coming in and exhaust going out the chimney. So the first thing we want to make sure is that our chimney is open. I brought my flashlight over here so you can see there's a little handle right there. You can probably see it there. You can pull. You can also just put your flashlight in. I don't know if I can look up here to see if there's, yep, it's open here. If not, you just pull that handle to make sure it's open. Second thing, you want to have a good crate in your fireplace. This crate allows air to come in underneath the firewood and circulate through the firewood and the fire and up the chimney. In my fireplace also, I have air coming in from underneath. That's actually an outlet where you can dump your ashes out, and I can remove those from outside from the chimney. But also allows for additional air circulation. If you don't have one like that, then you want to make sure you have enough air coming in from the opening of your fireplace. And usually you have vents if your doors are closed. And obviously as we get it started, we'll have the doors open. So here's our starter setup. I've used about 4 or 5 starter pins, and I've put in 2 on each side, 1 slice of Presto log, and I've got a couple of slices of cardboard as well. So we're just going to go ahead and light up the newspaper with the lighter. Now the flame is spreading, and hopefully it should now light up the starters. Once you get the starters going, you will usually get a good flame going. Once we got all the starters going, we can start adding some other materials with high combustibility, like the pieces of wood. I'm just going to throw some of those in here. Oh. Get those going. And then we'll gradually add the thicker pieces as we get a good fire going. Okay, so I've added some of the thin wood chunks here, little branches. And at this point I'm also closed my screen because you tend to get a little bit of a spark here when it's burning those thin pieces. So we'll let it sit like this for a few minutes, and we'll just keep gradually adding fire to it. Another tip I want to show here at the beginning here as we're getting the fire going is if you have glass doors, which I have here, and you do have air circulation like I do have from underneath, you could close the doors because there's already air coming in from underneath, and you can see it'll actually help the flames. It'll almost act like a fan that blows air from underneath up through the chimney. So it acts just like as if you would have actually blow on the fire. Now this particular fireplace insert here, the doors are not designed to burn while the flame's on full blast. So keep an eye on the doors here, feel them with your hand. If they get too hot to touch, you want to open up your doors. If it's not, again, if it's not a fireplace designed to burn with doors closed. But for now, we'll leave them closed just till we get a good fire going. As the fire is starting here, you could use your metal shovel here to kind of move things around a little bit to create additional air if you're having trouble with the fire spreading. You kind of want it to spread out to the sides as well because we want to get a big fire going here. I'm just going to push a little bit on the pieces here to create a little bit more air. And at this point here, it should really be, we're about like 5 minutes into it. It should start to feel really hot when I put my hand kind of in there. And at this point here, we could start adding some of the bigger chunks of wood in there. We've got a good fire going here. You see I've added a couple of the bigger logs in there. And again, occasionally I might still close my doors just to really kind of use the vents here as a fan. You can see how it really just adds to the fire when you close the doors. But don't do it too long because you don't want your doors to get too hot. So we've pretty much gotten the fire to the point we want it. So after maybe 15 minutes or so, 15-20 minutes, if your fireplace has a fan, you can see mine does. It's got the air intake and outlet here on each side. Once these have gotten pretty warm, you can just kind of feel and see how it feels. You can start the fan. Let's start the fan here. And that'll obviously help circulate the heat in the house. What it does is it takes the heat from the side walls up the fireplace and just heats up that tunnel of air and blows it out. So it's a good way to get the whole cabin heated up. That's pretty much all there is to it. At this point, all you need to do is just keep an eye on the fire, throw locks in. Occasionally at this point here, we can just throw the big locks in if we keep the fire going. And you should have a nice, cozy, warm cabin. So let's review one more time the 4 components of a good fire. We need a combustible material, we need air, we need a spark, and we need heat. The fourth thing, heat, is really a factor in what sort of material you want to throw in. So as The fireplace is cold. You want to use the most combustible materials like paper and cardboard and starters. Once the fire is going, you've got a hot fireplace. That's when you can throw in the big logs, because they won't burn unless there's plenty of heat. So for now, I'm Christian Hansen from Cozy Cabin CDA. Please subscribe to my channel for more tips on cabin living.